Hey, today I wanted to make a little video just talking about what I've learned about social support or friendships and relationships while you've got cancer or while you're struggling through the more active phase of cancer treatment and diagnosis. It's a really, really weird space, and I've never had anything like it happen to me before socially. I'm very motivated by my friendships, and friendship is a huge part of my identity, and my friends are super important to me. But when I entered into this realm, and it took me many years to kind of gradually enter into the realm, I wasn't diagnosed until after 10 years of screening, so I've had some time to think about it for sure and notice other people's journeys, so that probably helped. But for whatever reason, intuitively, I knew that when I learned that I had cancer, that I should not share it. And I'm a very open person. I tend to share what's going on in my life pretty widely. I happened to not be on Facebook for the couple of years that surrounded my diagnosis, so that helps. But otherwise, I was very private about it. And that was kind of quizzical to me, and I didn't even fully know why I was being so private. But I knew that it was a really sensitive issue and that it wasn't worth risking losing friendships over. Along the way, reading books and listening to podcasts and interviews and different things about cancer, I've picked up that other people have the same inclination to be private. And some of them had reasons, but I felt that it was pretty common that other people learned not to rely on even their closest friends during this season of their lives. And what I've learned and kind of observed, and my interpretation now of what's going on with friendships and relationships in general with cancer, is that for most people have lost a really significant person in their lives to cancer. And I'm one of those people. I lost my uncle, who was a really close relative to me, kind of a father figure in some ways. So I can relate to that. And I realize intuitively every time I say the word cancer to someone that I haven't been talking to regularly about my path or my story, I realize that I could be triggering them. And so what I've come to learn is that the word cancer, or any stories about cancer, or anecdotes about cancer, are pretty triggering for many people, because it's equated to many people, not everyone, but a lot of people equate it with death and loss in their lives and unprocessed grief in their lives. And so probably in other countries where they process grief better, in other cultures where they process grief better, probably cancer is not as scary of a thing to bring up or talk about with your friends or acquaintances, certainly. I'm pretty fortunate in that it's been really easy for me to talk to my family and my in-laws about my cancer, and that's the main people you need to be able to talk to about it. So I have some really, really giving and generous, self-sacrificing family members that have been wonderful. Mostly women, but some men too. And that's been sufficient for me to get through and get what I need during this time. I have not asked a lot of my friends, even my closest friends. And when I process things with my closest friends, which I do pretty regularly, I'd say at least once a month with each of them, I don't really expect them to understand. And that's difficult, because part of what friendship means to me is kind of a deep listening and understanding. And people just can't understand cancer if they haven't gone through it. So it's kind of a lonely reality. And I think it's lonelier when you do ask and need more of people, because then you realize that they just don't have it to give. So I didn't share very widely at first. And then after my mastectomy, I felt a lot stronger. I felt emotionally stable and supported and optimistic about the future for the first time. And then I started sharing more widely with my acquaintances and more extended family members, who I know really want to know what's going on in my life. And I'm very happy to let them know what's going on in my life. And so that was something that I thought might be a little scary, but it wasn't. It was very safe and good. And I actually started sharing on Facebook recently about what I'm going through, maybe on like a monthly basis, not very often. And I've learned a new dynamic of this kind of relational Cancer path that I'm on. And that is that when I do share lightly and expect very light support, for example, today I shared that I learned what time my surgery is going to be on Wednesday, and asked people to either be thinking of me or praying for me during that hour if they weren't busy doing other things during that hour. And of course, people are thrilled to be able to say that they would do that because it's such an easy thing to do. It's a small offering. It doesn't involve a lot of grief and tears and processing on their part. It's just a little gift that they can give you. And so that's been really good. And I've started to reframe my expectations in the sense of like offering chances for people to give me little gifts. Because my expectations are low, I'm able to really feel that love and support as it's given in the different ways that people are able to give it, knowing that it's really hard for most people to give any kind of attention to the word cancer. And depending on what season of life they're in and how much they've been freed up from their grief in the past, it can be different for different people for sure. So it's something I think that we all just benefit from taking lightly and shifting our friendships during this time. And if cancer is an ongoing reality, which it is for most people, to some degree, it's going to be something they think about on a daily basis probably, then yeah, you may not want to rely on those people that didn't come through or who ignored every little tiny request for support that you asked for. I think it's really good to test the waters with our friends and see how much they can handle, because they won't explicitly say how much they can handle. They will either just be present or not be present. And that's actually kind of one nice thing about social media is it's really easy to offer a small need for support and see whether people are going to respond without taking a big risk of calling them individually or texting them individually and asking them in particular. So maybe that is a blessing in its weird disguise of strange social media dynamics. But anyway, that's really all I have to say. I don't want to go on, but those are just some of my main ideas about the awkwardness of friendships and relationships during a cancer diagnosis season. The other thing we have some control over is our ability to find new friends in places that might be new to us and kind of scary, but cancer support groups are full of people who do understand what we're going through and who are not afraid of the word cancer. And maybe they are triggered by it, but they have to deal with it every bit as much as you do. And for me, that's been a huge saving grace for all of the missing spots in my life socially. It's been a great place of just common understanding, common experience. Everyone's a little different. It's not totally common, but they all have the basic elements of fear and anger and powerlessness and frustration. The really strong emotions that you're going through as a cancer patient can be shared there. There's all kinds of Facebook groups. There's Instagram, in a weird way, you can kind of connect with other breast cancer survivors on Instagram. And then, of course, there's in-person support groups and virtual support groups. So thanks for listening to me as I ramble on about the awkwardness of relationships in this season of life and season of disease. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.